Welcome once again to the Hermitage, the home of Andrew Jackson, our 7th president. My name is Mike Zimmerman, the Director of Interpretation for this site. Now, we have been journeying through the mansion, and we have gone from the formal entryway with its parlors, traversed into private space with the bedrooms of General Jackson and his son, Andrew Jr. But connected to each one of those bedrooms is going to be an office space. So as you made your way from the hallway connecting those bedrooms into this office space area, you could argue that you're in the nerve ending or the business wing of the home. Continuing, you do see that brick wallpaper showing you that you're in a private space, but not as private as the bedrooms, because this is where the business is done. So here on your right is the first room I'd like to show you. This here is General Jackson's library. Now, this is our presidential library, if you want to think of it that way. The general does have over 700 volumes within his collection. He is quite the avid reader. But there are newspapers strung about the room. He is trying to keep up to snuff on the business of the day. That is because he will have many fine visitors who will come in this office to talk business with him, to get his advice or his opinion on the daily matters. They'll come in through the door right off the front porch, sit at the table in the center of the room, and discuss what is going on. Now, these gentlemen would include notable visitors, such as Martin Van Buren and James K. Polk, both presidents in their own right, but they are proteges of Andrew Jackson, so they would want his opinion on the daily news. Also, Sam Houston would come through that door. They would sit at the table, have a nice glass of corn mash whiskey, as you can see the liquor chest on the table, and perhaps discuss whether or not the annexation of Texas was a good idea or not. Now, for Jackson, he's using the newspaper strewn about the room to keep up to date, but also the large books that grace the floor in 3 piles. Those large books are always a curiosity for visitors, and usually we'll ask, are they encyclopedias? Are they maps? Are they Bibles? No, they're actually collections of newspapers as well. In fact, every newspaper published during Jackson's administration. You see, the general would actually subscribe to 15 different newspapers during his administration, have them put into these bindings and brought home in his retirement. So, when Jackson needed to know about what happened during his administration, he could flip through these books, look back on the times, and see what was said. So we like to joke that for our president, this is his form of Google. But as you look around the room, you're seeing a room where Jackson would retire, but then also be doing business. You see the green couch in the back where he would take a nap, but more likely be using the red invalid chair there by the table. That chair there, built by the National Mechanics Association as a gift for General Jackson, has casters on the wheels, and this would be utilized by the general, especially in the later stages of his life. You see, Jackson had a personal body slave named George. George would be tasked with the everyday care of the general. He would actually be sleeping at the foot of his bed 24 hours a day by his side to help him with grooming, feeding, moving about the home, anything that the general would need indeed. Now, for the general, he would utilize this office and use it as a talking point. You see how fine this office is with its beautiful oriental straw matting on the floor. This is a nice, fine feature for the entertainment of a guest. This is a stark contrast from the office that is directly across the hall. Across the hall, you have the farm office, and you see it has bare tulip poplar floors. Quite the contrast, but that does make sense, because the muddy boots of the overseers and the vendors would come through the side farm office door, coming in here to do business with Junior, and you don't want that mud on your fine oriental straw. Now, Junior would be discussing the business of the farm, whether it is the sale of cotton, the purchase of slaves, or the like. But for Junior, unfortunately, he's not the businessman that his father is. As you look around the room, you see a very simple office indeed, and there are things that just quite don't belong. Whether it is the hunting rifles, even one laid out on the table, the fishing rod, or the playing cards there on the table as well. You see, these actually tell the story of Junior better than I ever could, because for Junior, he would rather be hunting, fishing, and gambling than actually taking care of the business of this farm. Unfortunately, it will be these activities that will lead to such large amounts of gambling debt, mismanagement, and bad investments that only 11 short years after the general dies, well, Junior is forced to sell this entire plantation, declaring bankruptcy. He will sell the plantation, the home, the garden, tomb, and the entire area itself to the state of Tennessee for the meager sum of $48,000 in 1856 to get out of debt. Now, the good thing is that Junior sold it to the state and not an individual. By doing so, the state allowed for the family to continue living here, even though they were now tenants in their own home. You see, the family would continue living here all the way until 1889, when we were opened as a museum by the Ladies Hermitage Association. At that time, it would be Andrew III, the son of Junior, the grandson of the general, living upstairs with his family, while the LHA began giving tours downstairs. This would be the arrangement until the family would move out in 1893. So, for the first 4 years of this home being a museum, you had families still living here within these walls. That explains to you why we have so many amazing artifacts to show you. It was nothing but family that lived here and nobody else that could have changed something. So again, we thank you for joining us here in the mansion, here at the Hermitage. Like always, if you're interested in more or curious what we're up to, please visit our website. Go to thehermitage.com for more information. Thank you.